There are three main course content objectives. The first one is to gain an understanding of the relationship between people's assumptions about gender and men's and women's life experiences by analyzing social theory related to gender, including theory on intersectionality, social roles, and social learning, and the interactionist theory of gender. I understand this best through the interactionist theory, which says that we develop our understanding of male and female roles through what we are taught through social interactions. I see this to be true based on my own experience from living in a small town. I think that I am different from other people in my small town because my parents were from large towns and because they got me out of the small town frequently. For example, many males in my class graduated and headed off to college to pursue gender stereotypical jobs. One friend is going to be a lawyer, quite a few are going into agricultural related jobs, a couple more are at Purdue for engineering. I wanted to be a teacher and an elementary special education teacher at that. My social interactions were very different from theirs. My dad is a teacher. My uncles and grandfathers are all teachers. My social interactions growing up were seeing every male on both sides of my family as teachers. In terms of analyzing social rules, I again credit the interaction theory. I have also always grown up around strong, independent females. The women in my life work hard. They are athletes. They contribute to the family financially and are part of the decision making in their households. Because of this, I feel that women should be treated and paid equally. I do not find anything intimidating or wrong about that. A theory that I do not yet understand very well is the intersectionality theory. I read back over the notes and PowerPoints and even did some Googling, and to be honest, I still don't understand it very well. I get the feeling that I am not alone. It is a complicated process. It makes sense that there are a variety of things that work together to lead to one's mistreatment. For example, not just being a woman, but being a black woman or being a gay black woman. That all impacts someone's treatment differently. Just as a whole, I can't quite explain that theory, so I would need to do more reading and thinking and talking to others to put that together in my mind better. Sister Citizen was probably the book we studied that seemed to try to explain this concept the best. I remember writing about the stereotypes of black women and how the media and Hollywood just kept furthering those stereotypes. It is hard to break the cycle when pop culture shows it to us regularly. Another objective is to understand women's experiences both inside and outside of the United States. Our discussions over If You Could Be Mine, Persepolis, and Pray the Devil Back to Hell helped show me how differently women are treated in other countries. In each of the books and movies that we watched, even though each culture had different laws and different perceptions, one thing you can count on is that there are usually going to be women willing to stand up and do something to help their cause. Sahar was ready to creatively work her way around the laws of same-sex marriage in Iran. Marjane was given some freedom from her parents to escape Iran and find herself elsewhere, although she ended up deciding to come back to Iran. The women in Liberia took a stand against violence in their area and made a major impact. The last objective is to gain an understanding of the ways in which societal institutions are organized around assumptions about gender. Misrepresentation has really changed the way I think about women in the sports world. I have always respected female athletes. I am a fan of women's sports and opportunities for women in the sports world. However, I realized that I had a sexist view of the women who worked in the sports world like ESPN. I realized that I prefer male sports broadcasters, but I am more accepting to watch and listen to a women's sports reporter when she looks nice. I suppose I am only human. I want to work on that attitude though. The sportscasters really do know the game well, and those women deserve the job. The female reporters deserve more respect from me too, but I also blame the people in charge of the hiring and in charge of the wardrobe. They could be dressed much more professionally, in my opinion. I don't mean to be sexist here either, but there is a definite difference between how the men dress and how the women dress, and it is hard to believe that this isn't on purpose. The theoretical concept that I understand the best is the social interactionist theory. I will try to use different evidence to prove my understanding of it. This theory suggests that we gain meaning of gender through social interactions. This can come from parents, school, TV, and religion. Misrepresentation showed us just how the media has impacted the self-concept of girls. I wrote this on one of our discussion boards. The documentary makes the claim that 78% of 17-year-old girls are dissatisfied with their body. This often leads to depression and eating disorders. I have hung out with a lot of girls in my life and have heard some of them talk about how they were not happy with their physical image. Some thought they were too fat and some thought they had an ugly face. Some of them are obsessed with makeup and clothes and think they do not look pretty without getting all dressed up. When I am hanging out with boys, I do not hear these things that regularly. My cousin has gone through some of this as well. She has had trouble with her body image ever since she was a little kid. She also had an eating disorder that sent her to the hospital, so someone so close to me was going through some serious things throughout her lifetime. Our American culture relies so heavily on the media. Girls see images of society's depiction of beautiful women daily, and they continue to be negatively impacted by it. A new way that this concept is seen is in what I have noticed since the presidential election. Many of my very religious friends voted for Trump and support Trump. This just makes me angry and frustrated. I do not understand how anyone who loves Jesus could think that Donald Trump is a good man and good worthy man of running the country. However, if social interaction theory is applied, they feel this way from what they are learning at their churches. I think so many churches focus on sex issues like abortion and homosexuality, and since most Republican candidates speak out against abortion and for pro-life, and they are against gay rights, they only bring forward one candidate. It doesn't matter that so many other Republican issues hurt millions of poor people. They just can't overlook abortion and homosexuality. Finally, we need to talk about the ethics and social responsibility objectives. The first objective is to understand the historical and philosophical basis of social responsibility. This class has done a lot to teach me about respecting individual differences. Misrepresentation focused the most on sexist issues in American media and politics and pointed out how the media helps form our societal opinion of women. Sister Citizen helped point out the frustrating history of black women in America. I started the class already understanding that women in general and black women in particular were mistreated, but now I have a better understanding of what caused that. The second objective is to think independently and analyze personal, professional, and societal issues. A good example of me analyzing my thinking personally is one I mentioned earlier with my sports watching. I will continue to try to be less judgmental about women sportscasters and less concerned about what they are wearing if they are reporting on the sidelines or in the studio. Objectives 3 and 4 is demonstrating the ability to make personal and professional decisions by applying knowledge and skills learned and to be able to vocalize those beliefs and change one's behavior. I want to grow to be a positive role model about gender equality. I can think of many ways that I will try to do that. First of all, in my own relationships, I treat my mother with respect and I value her opinion and appreciate how hard she works. I can improve as I get older in realizing that she does not need to take care of me as much anymore. When I am home, I will help my parents by taking on more chores that were typically done by my mom. I can help with the laundry and the cooking more. Also, when I get married, I will have honest conversations with my wife about sharing our household responsibilities equally. We can either take turns with chores or decide which chores we are better at or like the best and approach it that way. In my job, which I hope will be working with special needs people in some way, I will be careful not to further gender stereotypes. When I catch students acting or saying something that is inappropriate, I will address it. I will be a positive role model for gender equity in my students' and clients' eyes. I would treat my colleagues with respect, no matter what their gender, race, or sexual orientation. I honestly think that I was pretty open-minded and fair to people even before this class, but I am now even more aware of what is going on because of the content I have been exposed to in gender studies.